In under 2 minutes, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper proves in this interview right here that she needs to be sacked. So let me explain more using amateur linguistic analysis. Hey up everyone and welcome to Political Nerds. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. In today's video, I'm going to be using amateur armchair linguistic analysis to show that in under 2 minutes, right here in this clip, Yvette Cooper proves to everyone that she should be sacked as Home Secretary. All, of course, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. But before we jump into it, the usual disclaimer, do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and as a disclaimer, I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. So let's jump into it with this clip right here. All snaps and claps goes to Lee Harris, Addicted to News, for sharing this on X, saying, just listen to these vacuous non-answers. And I thought, you know what? Challenge accepted. I'm going to listen to these answers. And, doing a little bit of amateur armchair linguistic analysis for you all because, you're going to be shocked as to how she doesn't answer anything at all. So, let's jump into it right now.
Has now begun, and the first migrants who arrived on small boat are now in detention. That is the first step to removing them to France, because no one should be making this journey in the first place, and that's why this is now starting the process to return people and to undermine this vile trade in people.
So, first and foremost, right, it's interesting how we get daily figures as to how many illegal immigrants have broken into our country, right? Yeah, the government can't provide us with the daily statistics as to how many of them have actually been placed in detention as part of this France plan, pilot, scheme, whatever the frink you want to call it, right? So the question here is, why is Yvette trying to hide this? Is it because the ratio between those illegally breaking in to those that are then detained to be sent back to France is so freaking pathetic? I suspect that's the case. What do you guys think? And in that scenario, does she know that? And that admitting this would then justifiably cause more discontent with the British public? Now, this is the thing. The interviewer catches on that Yvette doesn't say how many have been detained. And after the question that the interview poses here, her next answer is going to shock you even more after I've broken it down.
You won't say how many have been detained, though. There could be just 2 people detained yesterday. Don't the public have a right to know?
Well, we will provide regular updates for the public at every stage. That's why I'm confirming today that the pilot has now started and the first migrants who arrived on small boat are now in detention. The transfers to immigration removal centres are underway as we speak, so we won't provide operational details at this point that criminal gangs can simply use and exploit. But no one should be in any doubt. Anyone who arrives from now on is eligible for immediate detention and return, and this pilot will now build because we are determined that no one should be making this journey, and this is a vile trade in people.
The interviewer asked very clearly if we, the public, have a right to know how many on a daily basis are being detained under this particular scheme. Interesting that she doesn't answer this. Now, instead, she gives a long, convoluted answer about how she's confirming that the scheme has started, that some are now being sent to these removal centres, and that she won't provide information publicly that the gangs could exploit. Now, that doesn't answer the interviewer's question, does it? And furthermore, by publicly confirming how many illegal immigrants are being detained under the scheme, how can that information be exploited by the gangs? If that's the case, then why publicly confirm the amount of illegal immigrants that are breaking into the UK on a daily basis on the government website? Now, this is the thing. Yvette doesn't explain this at all. Instead, what she's done is she's provided us here with a sweeping statement. Now, sweeping statements are broad claims about something or a situation with little or no evidence essentially provided to back it up. These types of statements avoid specific details, and they're made to sound extremely definitive, but in reality, they can be very misleading. And they can also create a false sense of authority upon the person making the statement in the first place. And so by saying that she won't essentially answer the interviewer's question because she doesn't want the gangs to know and be able to exploit it, well, it sounds definitive enough and makes her seem authoritative. However, without the evidence to back up her claim, it's extremely misleading and manipulative. She might as well have said something along the lines of that she can't answer it to protect the security and national interests of the UK. Now, this whole answer that you've just heard from her is extremely convoluted. She could have just answered it in one sentence, but she didn't. Why? Now, a long, convoluted answer, like the one Yvette has just provided that you've just listened to, it can actually be seen as a deliberate attempt to confuse both the interviewer and the audience. Now, she doesn't specifically state what she means, which potentially points to her being evasive. She relies heavily on implication, which allows her then to avoid providing definitive and direct answers to the interviewer's questions. Now, this can be used to mislead or even confuse the interviewer and the listeners. It all yet again points to the notion that she's trying to avoid a negative or potentially awkward answer, like the question she was asked before this one. Now, the interviewer has a follow-up question. Guess how Yvette Cooper answers it? I'll give you 3 guesses. Here we go.
You say return immediately, but your colleagues have admitted the scheme will face legal challenges and possible delays. How soon will the people that have been detained yesterday be deported? And could this appeals process last weeks or months?
Well, the pilot has now begun, so the first migrants who've arrived on the small boats are now in detention. We will then swiftly make the referrals to France, and that process will now start to...
Yeah, if you guessed that Yvette wasn't going to answer the question, ding, 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 you are a winner. Now, have you guys ever heard of Grice's maxims? Now, this was formulated by a philosopher called H.P. Grice, and if I've mispronounced his last name, apologies. He developed principles that guide effective communication, essentially. Now, violating these maxims can lead to misunderstandings in discussions, and there are 4 maxims in total. You've got the maxim of quantity, the maxim of quality, the maxim of relevance, and the maxim of manner. Now, I want to direct your attention to 2 of these particular maxims, the maxim of relevance and the maxim of manner. So the maxim of relevance, that's all about providing an answer that's relevant to the conversation, ensuring that the discussion continues to be focused and that it doesn't fall into any tangents. The maxim of manner is all about providing an answer that's very clear, with no room for ambiguity or word salad, right? But Yvette here has violated both of these Grice maxims because she doesn't confirm how long an appeals process would take with those detained. Instead, she provides an answer that's totally irrelevant to what's being asked of her. In addition, her answer's really not clear at all. She talks about the pilot beginning, but how many illegal immigrants are now in detention? When will they make the referrals to France? And so, all in all, this is yet another example of a politician in an interview not really providing any answers to the questions they've actually been asked. So, ultimately, when it comes to this interview with Yvette Cooper, what's she trying to hide from us? And ultimately, if she can't properly conduct an interview and actually answer the questions that are posed to her properly, then what the heck is she still doing as Home Secretary? Ultimately, as a result, I would say she needs to be sacked now. But enough about what I think. What do you guys think? With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and unfortunately with the state of the UK at the moment, there's going to be more, then make sure you subscribe to join our Alternerd tribe here on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you're following me at Steph Alternerd. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. What do you think to this interview clip with Yvette Cooper? What did you notice that I missed? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate all your faces. And until the next time, you guys, laters.